Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is really true, is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because, guys, over 33 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 33 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. And yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. Guys, I'm saying all that to say this. You know, there's a lot of people out there struggling with addiction. A lot of people out there still struggling with recovery and families that are involved as well. And there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with health issues. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm also a recovery coach. I want to let you know that all my services to you are free. Please know someone is listening, and please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, because I sure do, you could go right to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, BAM, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to my website, www.geripetito.com, and please subscribe to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel. I want to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors before I introduce my incredible guest. Okay, guys, first I have Stormin Norman Selden. 732-245-4777, www.storminnormanselden.com, booking dozens of attractions for concerts and performances on venues of all sizes. Guys, he's got from a 5 to a 12-piece band. He is incredible on the keyboards, baby, let me tell you. And a lot of people didn't know this, but he helped get Larry Chance from the Earls started. Rest in peace, my brother. I love Larry. We became very good friends, and we all miss you, Larry, so rest in peace. What a legend he was. Then I have Michael D'Amore, singer, songwriter, performer, entertainer, the new lead singer for the Capris, www.michaeldamore.com. And, you know, I'm going to say this, okay? I always say everyone knows I'm a huge, huge Elvis fan, right? And to me, Elvis is here, honey, nobody else, right? But I actually put Michael right under Elvis. That's how good he is. He's incredible. Please, please check him out, Michael D'Amore. Then I've got Michael Zanman, singer, entertainer, producer, www.mzanman.com. Let me tell you about my friend Zanman. He's an off-the-charts entertainer, great singer, crazy as heck, and he will have you cracking up laughing while you're going, wow, this music is great. And I had the honor of emceeing for both of them at Let East last year. I had Michael Zanman open up for Michael D'Amore, so we're hoping to do the same this year, okay? Labor Day weekend, guys, Let East. Very cool. Then John Monforto, the man of many faces, singer, actor, celebrity impersonator, and tribute artist. I actually gave him the name, the man of many faces, but he was given a title by a former Philadelphia mayor as the official Rocky impersonator. He is off the charts. First of all, he is Rocky, let me tell you. He does over 30, and my favorite that he does, of course, is Rocky, of course, the Godfather, the Italian in me, right? And, of course, Elvis, baby. So check him out, www.johnmonforto.com, okay? And then John Bishop, a.k.a. Johnny B., singer, songwriter. He's the host of the Entertainment Luncheon South, a nonprofit network created for the creative. Go to his Facebook group page, Entertainment Luncheon South, and he's also the partner in the Joey D and Johnny B. Rockin' Oldies band. I want to give a shout out to him and his wife Linny because they do this every single month and they don't make a penny on it. It's by invite only. For $20, you get a meal and incredible entertainment. And I mean, legends fly in to be at this thing, okay, guys? Now, last but certainly not least, Gene's in Napoli. He is an ETA. He's excellent, excellent, excellent. And he's putting on some really cool shows with other entertainers. So, June 8th, 2 p.m., the Sellersville Theater, Summer Serenade with Chris Ruggiero, 215-257-5808. June 9th, 3 p.m., Grun Center for the Arts, Toms River, New Jersey, Summer Serenade with Chris Ruggiero. And then, June 14th at 7:30 p.m., the Sellersville Theater, Sal the Voice Valentinetti, America's Got Talent, and also a fellow Long Island Cityer like me, baby. That's right. 215-257-5808. Okay? And the next show, I will be giving you some more dates that he's got. So, having said all that, you know I always bring it, right? Well, today I'm really bringing it, and yes, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm bringing it, baby. There you go, okay? First of all, let me introduce this legend sitting next to me, who not only came live in studio, honey, he changed his flight to be here. I am more than honored. Pinch me, please. Norman Selden, say hello.
Selden's the other guy.
Oh, I was just talking about Selden. I'm sorry. Norman Bergen, say hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody. So, Jerry, it's so great to meet you in person.
Okay, that's
Finally.
the Italian me. I just said the other name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. And I feel very at home. You sound like you're from Brooklyn. Are you originally from Brooklyn?
I'm originally from Long Island City, Queens.
Well, there you go. That's close enough.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is the rehearsal. When's the actual show?
Okay, guys, the actual show starts now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm nervous now. So I brought a couple of notes to help me see if I remember everything that I have to talk about. No, that's it.
Gino,
That's
are our mics good? Okay.
That's not it. So I actually did bring notes.
So I want to just tell everyone, first of all, this guy is a legend, okay? His bio is incredible. This is up to you. Norman, do you want me to read this quick bio? Or do you want to just get into your
No,
thing?
just get
into your thing, okay.
I'm go things in mostly chronological
Okay,
order. If
so
I
I
leave
want-
anything out that you think should be
Okay.
mentioned, maybe later,
All right.
Whatever
So
you think.
I want you to start by just from the beginning. He's got everything in order here, and we will also have songs, and he'll let us know when we're going to play them. But I want you to take the floor.
All
The
right,
mic
thank
is
you,
yours.
Jerry. No, it's really an honor to be here. This is great. I love your show. I've watched it. I've seen some friends of mine on here, so this is really great. So I was an embryo, and then after that, I grew up in a little 3-room apartment in Brooklyn, New York. You know Brooklyn, and the apartment was so small I could hardly had room to change my mind. No, I don't know.
But he's right.
Whatever. It was small. 4 of us in a 3-room apartment, and my parents and my brother Danny and myself. And I'm told that I started playing piano at the age of 3. I don't remember that. I do remember my 4-year-old birthday, but the reason it's not that surprising if you could picture the apartment. The largest item in the entire place was a baby grand piano. So my mother played. My father listened. He claimed to have played violin when he was little. We never actually heard him do that. My brother played piano, played trumpet, and I was the baby. So I was the baby playing the baby grand. That was me.
I love that.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's all true. And my mother was actually my first piano teacher. And I actually want to get right into this song. I wrote, in a minute, I wrote a song. The music is not chronological. The story is. But I wrote this song about 12 years ago, recorded it on an album that I'm going to give you right now, in fact, Jerry. Here's the album, plug.
Yay.
But it's called Symphony of Love, and the first track, I wrote it. It's a song I wrote for my mother, Pauline Bergen, and It's called "I Saw the Full Moon," Pauline's song, and I wrote it in maybe a half hour. I actually, it's just comes from the truth, which is always the best from for the arts. I walked outside one night, saw the full moon, and it just I get chills when I think about it now. I thought, oh, my mother's there. She's we're seeing the same moon. So yeah, play the song if you don't mind, Gino.
When he plays the song, hold on. I need you to pull the mic down.
I saw the full moon last night, and I knew then you're always there. It filled up my room so bright, sent me dreaming without a care. No matter how the tears have fallen, no matter how the years come calling, you'll always be here in my heart, like that full moon we always share. Some way, I know we'll be together someday inside the night light, so right of that full moon we'll always share. That full moon we'll always share.
So cool, so cool. All right, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, and so I recorded this album about, as I said, about 12 years ago. That's when I wrote the song. Recorded it in London with some of the best musicians in the UK. They were actually all part of Nick Lowe's band. Some people know that name. And they were all alumni of Van Morrison's band. So I had some of the greatest people, and I found out long after the fact something about the drummer. They said, "Oh, he worked for the Beatles." I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Oh yeah, Ringo gave him a drum kit." I said, "Where is it?" And then they said, "Oh, that's the one in the studio." So that drum kit on that thing you just heard on that whole album was belonged to Ringo. He gave it to the drummer as a gift.
That is so cool. Okay, Beatles fans, you heard it right here.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I found that much later on. Wish I had known when I was in the studio. So so at home there. So by the age of 8, my parents got me a real piano teacher who could teach me classical music. My mother didn't do that. She played that kind of style, what I was just playing on the last song. But so I'm learning how to play classical piano. Listening to pop music on the radio, and the pop music I heard first were Peggy Lee, Pat Boone, Patti Page. It turns out that anybody I liked, their names began with a P. I don't know. I have no idea why. But
well, I'm Petito. All right.
That's right.
Okay, there you go.
See, it works. And one day, so this is sometime in the 1950s, I'm changing radio stations. Now that was all, what later became known as easy listening, but then these were the pop hits of the day. They were on your hit parade on television every week. I would watch the show. But one day I heard something, I had never heard it before. I said, what is this? Right in the middle of the dial in New York City, 1010 Wins New York, which I still listen to, even though they became a news station many years ago, but it still, it still feels like home. But Alan Freed was on that station. And I didn't know, I heard his name for the first time. I said, what is this? And it was music, the likes of which I had never heard. And Alan Freed figured out a way to combine rhythm and blues and country music, and he called it rock and roll. And
okay.
I got hooked. and and you'd hear. So I would. Now he had shows at the Brooklyn Paramount every few months, and I would beg my parents to take me to the shows. And so my mother took me to one. They wouldn't do more than one. My mother took me to one. My father took me to one. My brother took me to one. And the people I saw were people who I'm still so inspired by them. Fats Domino, Buddy Holly made it cool to wear glasses.
Oh, wow.
You could have hit records if you wear glasses, so I felt that was cool. Jerry Lee Lewis. Danny and the Juniors had 2 hits. Their second hit, well, of course, everybody knows At the Hop, but Rock and Roll is Here to Stay. So that was the anthem, and the parents didn't like that. They didn't agree, but we were right, weren't we?
Imagine if they heard today's music, but I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, rock and roll is here to stay. It sure is. So that was a pivotal moment for me. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make music, write songs, go on stage with a band. And I was 11 when I first saw Alan Freed on stage. He's waving. I thought he was waving to me. I just bought whatever. I believed it all. I didn't know. So I formed a band, and by the time I was 14, and I met one of the guys in the orchestra in junior high, Winthrop Junior High in Brooklyn, was a kid named Gary Lane. We are still friends. We met in 1959. I saw him a few weeks ago. He's actually pretty well known in the Delray Beach area in Florida. People come. Now he sings and plays piano. But he was a bassoonist. Then he learned saxophone, and we formed a band. And I became a 14-year-old band leader in the Catskill Mountains in New York at a place called Goldblatt's Hotel in Monticello. Anybody remember it? No, of course not.
I had a house. We built a huge log cabin in the Catskills.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So now Gertie Goldblatt decided that in order for us to be being paid as musicians, we had to have a second job. So I was 14. The other 2 guys were 15 each, Gary and this other guy, Monty. So she made them busboys.
Okay.
Now, I was tall and skinny, and I was, I think maybe my mother told her, he's not going to be able to carry those big, heavy trays. So they made me a lifeguard, even though I could barely swim. So I would clean out the pool every morning at Goldblatt's Hotel with a net, not the actress, an actual net.
A net.
Yeah, that would have been a lot more fun. But,
A net,
yeah.
not a net.
And then, let me see, the following year, I worked at a place called the Beerkill Lodge. These places would change names almost every year to make it sound new and exciting. They just changed the name. They didn't change anything else.
Oh.
So the Beerkill Lodge became the new Beerkill Hotel.
Okay.
In the big town of, I forget what it was, but the town consisted of a convenience store and a gas station. So at that hotel, what's interesting, because I'm going to mention this young man again a little later for another reason, but I bought a jacket. So I replaced the piano player in this particular band. It's a 4-piece band, Mel's band, and Mike was on the drums, and the other guy, Barry. And they told me I'm replacing somebody named Phil. So I had to call up Phil and pay him for his jacket, for his band jacket, and I think it was probably $12, and I was getting paid maybe $25 a week.
Okay.
Something like that. So at least they didn't take my entire salary. And I had not actually met Phil. He sent it. I sent the money. Gave it to one of the guys. So I got Phil's jacket. Then it turned out that Phil was not as tall as myself. Not nearly. So in the summer, I'm working there. Every time it became a big joke. This jacket that didn't really fit me, I paid $12 for it in whatever year it was, in 1960. And every act who came in, every performer said, "Phil, you've changed." And it became a big joke. Remember the name Phil, because I am going to mention
Phil.
him again later for a completely different reason. Now, so the payoff of all of this was that I eventually got to work in a beautiful hotel called the Laurels Country Club, and the daughter of the owners. The owners had gone to Florida to build their new hotel, and I think it was either the Fontainebleau or the Eden Rock. So they had this beautiful, and they left their daughter Arlene to take over the hotel, take over the entertainment, which was probably not their best idea for them, but for us it was great because I got to play for all of these acts: Joe Williams, Cab Calloway, Diane Carroll, every comedian I had seen on the Ed Sullivan Show. A guy by the name of Jack Roy, who had just changed his name. Do you know who that is?
No.
Changed it to Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh my gosh,
at
duh.
At age 40. And then Jackie Mason was there, and he goes, "Oh, a person like this, you don't even have to. You could do Jackie Mason. You don't even have to talk. You just go like this." And he almost talked himself out of the business one time on the Ed Sullivan Show. It's a whole different story. So I got to work with all these people, and that's really where I got to hone my craft as the piano player.
Talk a little.
Piano player in the band, and that's where I'm reading arrangements for the first time, and it was like boom, 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 one after the other. And I was 17 by that time. So back to age 14, right after the summer at Goldblatt's, a drummer who is now in our band, Barry, called me up. His uncle was Jerry Lewis's producer. And he said, "We can go on the telethon if you want." So I had to ask my parents. I'm like 14. And can they come? And it's going to be like in the middle of the night. They're going to put us on at 4 a.m. I said, "Yeah, whatever, great. We're going to be on a real telethon. And what do you want to play?" "Well, play your song, the song you wrote." So I had written a song called, which made no sense. I mean, just instrumental. It was called Chinese Rock. It was my 14-year-old idea of what Chinese rock and roll music might sound like.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
The thought of it.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it was. It wasn't real exciting, but we did it. So we show up there. We're early for the 4 a.m. shot, right? So we're there at 3:30, and we start asking. And we're in the green room across the street from where it's going to be, where the actual telethon is, with Jerry Lewis live, and he had just started doing it. He was already getting quite a reputation for those telethons. So we start asking, well, when, a half hour goes by, an hour goes by, when are we going on? And we thought maybe they're just trying to get rid of us, get us to go home, which maybe was the case, but we weren't no way we're going to leave. So the irony is that we got an amazing time slot, Sunday morning, 10 a.m.
Okay.
We were on live, and right before we went on, Jerry Lewis said, and the whole room gets quiet, kind of like this. And he said, "I'm going to have to take a break from, under doctor's orders, take a break from making movies because I fell down a flight of stairs a couple of months ago, and he was now going to take a break." And a hush came over the audience, and then, it's like a really serious moment. And then suddenly, Jerry Lewis, "And now, Norby and the Thunderbirds," and that was the name we were using that week. So we go on, we play our song. At the end of the 3 minutes, our 3 minutes of fame, he says, "And one of them looks like he's 12 years old," and that was me. He was referring to me. So I did get my moment there with Jerry Lewis. So it was every young musician's dream, everybody's dream in New York to play at Carnegie Hall. Now, I used to walk past there. I would come in from Brooklyn. I would take the subway train, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I would walk past Carnegie Hall and always wonder what it's like inside. And I never got to know, not as yet anyway. So a little teaser there. But the reason I would go, we called it going into the city, right?
Sure.
Going from Brooklyn. It's we didn't say Manhattan. We're going into the city.
Going into the city.
So I'm 15 years old. I'm in high school. We get out of class 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I take the subway. By the time I'm there's 1 hour of the business day left. So I would do this 3 or 4 times a week, and I'd go knock on doors. And the reason I was motivated to do this is that all these people, just a few years older than myself, they were pretty young themselves too. They were in these buildings writing songs. So the Brill Building, everybody knew the name Brill Building. Yep. They still do, but there were 2 other buildings as well. And I'd go to all of them, 1650 Broadway and 1697, the Ed Sullivan Theater Building. So the people who were from Brooklyn, who were in those buildings right then, Neil Diamond. By the way, that Sweet Caroline's great, right? Sweet Caroline's a great song.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but you know what they do? You know what people do now when you sing that, if you sing it in a club?
Yeah, everybody sings it.
No, yeah, but they sing so good, so good.
yeah.
Yeah. It never would have been a hit. I'm just throwing that in here.
Oh.
Can you imagine if all like Don Kirshner and all these people and Carole King, and they all like gather around the mic and go, so good, so good. They never, the program directors never would have played it. I just want to make that comment. I love the original. So Neil Diamond was in there. Carole Klein from Brooklyn, got to play her piano years later in a studio in L.A., her actual piano from Brooklyn, and a Juilliard graduate who had started in the Catskill Mountains by the name of Neil Sedaka.
That's cool.
Neil was in there writing songs. So now I'm 15 years old. 2 years later, we graduate from high school, my friend Gary Lane and myself, and he called me up one day. He said, Neil Sedaka, by this time, he has a slew of hits. So it was 1962. I'm 17. And Gary calls me up. He said, Neil Sedaka is holding auditions for young musicians to go on the road with him. And he said, the only hitch is that you'd have to also play guitar. I said, well, I barely play. I actually owned a guitar. But piano, I could play anything, especially by that time, age 17. I could, play. I could read any music. I knew all these records in my head. I loved all this stuff. So I certainly knew every Neil Sedaka record, and I still do. I know them in my head. I didn't even need music. So, but I could read it if I had to. But he said guitar, and I said, well, no, that count me out. I'm not going to do that. He said, come on. He convinced me. He was very outgoing. Gary was. He still is. I'm not. I wasn't, and I'm still not. But he convinced me to go and audition. Sure enough, we got the job. But we had to sell the idea, okay, if there's now, I played piano and accordion, no synthesizers in those days. So if the idea was I have to play guitar if one of the pianos, if there's a piano that's broken or out of tune, so sure enough, now we're driving south. Gary and I are in a van with these older musicians, some as old as 25 or 30.
Okay.
Yeah, we're 17 and 18. And Neil Sedaka is driving alongside. Sometimes he pulls up in his new red convertible, and he had 2 hits playing on the radio right then. Very big. And so one time, I still remember, the other guys in the van with us, it was a band called the Ramrods, and they had a #1 record called Ghost Riders in the Sky. They had the instrumental of that. So they were the real deal. It was like really fine musicians. And we were like kids, and we're going to try to hang with them. So Neil Sedaka pulls up alongside, and he motions to the driver, lower the window. I want you to hear this. And he cranks it up, and it's breaking up his heart to do. And he was then, he's still a fan. Most people, he started as a pianist and a songwriter. So that's really it. That never changes. Generally, those people, it's all about the music. We do it because we love music. That's why we're there doing that. So to him, he was just so excited to hear himself, even though he had already had.
That's amazing.
He had like 5 hits. He had Calendar Girl, and he had Happy Birthday, Sweet 16, and now Breaking Up His Heart to Do is a newer record, and he was just as excited as ever. One time we pulled over at one of the rest stops where there was a grand piano there. We're going to stop for food, driving down to our first gig. And Neil goes over to the piano. He loved he sees a piano, he would start playing it. Not bashful. And he's playing What I Say by Ray Charles, which was a favorite of mine. And I went over to him. I said, "Oh, you like that?" I never, I'm still naive. I know what I hear on the radio or see on TV. We all typecast people. But I was shocked. He said, and he just goes, "Oh, yeah, isn't that Ray Charles great?" So I was it made me feel good about him. A real musician, loves other people's music, that whole thing. So we get to our first gig. Roanoke, Virginia, culture shock in those days. It was like, I thought that the South was only in the movies, and I'm from Brooklyn. I didn't know, but it was really some things were jarring. So we get there to the gig. Sure enough, no piano. So I'm going to play guitar. So now the real band the real guy is with a great guitarist who's the band leader. His name was Vinny. I still remember. And I know he's looking. He wasn't too happy about me picking up a guitar. So we do then it gets worse. The manager opens the music, and he said, "Here, like Happy Birthday, Sweet 16." Now, if you're a musician, do you play any instruments?
No.
Okay. She didn't have to think about it.
I am not musically inclined. I just love listening.
Yeah. Well, so I learned then the hard way that most performers, not everyone, drop their key, especially if they do on tour or if they're doing 8 shows a week or something, one-nighters. They drop the key. So a half a step or a whole step. Now, I knew Neil's records in the original key. But musicians out there, they know what I'm getting at. Now, on piano, it wouldn't have really thrown me. But guitar, I'm already barely playing the guitar, and I'm going D, and I see all these flats, D flat. How do you do that on a guitar? I don't know. I could play the Buddy Holly songs on guitar, but so I'm struggling. And, of course, I'm getting dirty looks from the band leader. And then came showtime. By the way, one of the other acts on it, great, Chip Taylor, who was unknown then. He's very well known in the industry these days, but he went over better than Neil Sedaka. He had a new record out.
Oh.
He had a new record that was played a lot in Roanoke, Virginia, so they all knew him. Chip looks exactly like his brother, John Voight.
That's his brother.
Yes, and they're not country boys. They're from upstate New York. It's kind of funny. And Chip went on to write 2 hits. I call them, not to insult him, but I've met him more than once. But he wrote, to me, he had 2 #1 hits, different titles. To me, it's the same song, one slow, one fast. The slow, it's because it's the same chord changes. And if you listen to them one after the other, you go, oh. Angel of the Morning, Merrily Rush.
Love it.
Dum, dum, dum. Now, if you speed that up, dum, 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 dum. Wild Thing. Dun, 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 dun. That was his other
That's
hit.
so cool, though.
Those are his 2 big hits. But I don't know if anybody else has ever voiced that. He probably wouldn't like that. So if you know 3 chords, you can have 2 monster hits. Well, you could in those days anyway.
That's pretty cool.
Well, now it's if you know 1 chord, you can have sell a billion streams, which pays $10 or something like that. So. So we're in Roanoke. We do the show. I'm guessing that the engineer was very good, like Gino here, and Gino's the producer. He's more than an engineer, obviously, but he was probably smart enough to either unplug the amp when I wasn't looking, or just lower the volume, and it, none the wiser. And there I was on stage with Neil Sedaka. We did another gig, Reading, Pennsylvania, and then I went back to New York. Went back to we were on the road. I went back myself before the end of the tour. I had another commitment, New Year's Eve, and with a local band leader. I wasn't, I was committed to it, so I did it. So I get back more motivated than ever. Now here's I was just on stage with Neil Sedaka, young. So successful, sings, plays piano, Juilliard, Catskills, you have a lot in common, and I'm going to write songs. I'm going to get my songs heard. So I remember, I would I'm knocking on the doors, and I remember one I still have a picture of this, one of the doors in the Brill Building. Knock on the door, they open the door, I see one of my favorite records on the wall, What's Your Name by Don and Juan. Great record, and I complimented them on it, and I said, I brought my demo. So I would bring my demo of Chinese rock. I carried it around for a couple of years. I would bring right out of the studio. I'd have a vinyl record for them to listen to my demo. And the one guy said, we don't have a record player.
Oh.
So now, now at this point, I was 16 or 17 around this time, and I'm buying it, right? But I didn't take no for an answer. I was not outgoing, but I was persistent. So the next day, guess what? I came back with a portable record player. And so they were going to listen to my song. I don't care. I didn't care what he thought. Now, around that time, one day I play a gig. So I'm doing gigs on the weekends. I get a call one day. I'm going to back up this group, Vito and the Salutations, and I knew them from listening to them on Murray the K. They had this hit, Gloria, at the time. They had the one big hit and a follow-up called Your Way. So I was very familiar, and I was thrilled. I'm going to back up Vito and the Salutations. So we did the gig. I didn't know my way around the Bronx at all. I don't know how I even found the place. Everybody always said, "Oh, it's right off the concourse." Everything's off the concourse if you're in the Bronx.
If you're in New York.
Yeah. So we did the gig. They loved what I did. They kept me in mind. Then they had the hit Unchained Melody, which everybody knew, the up-tempo version of a boom, 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 boom. My friend Frank Fox improvised that part in the studio.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
One of the greatest songs ever.
It is. It's a great record. It's just a classic. Other people copied that style after that, but they were really first with that. So then they called me up. They remembered me, called me up. They want me to play on their sessions now. So I went. I did the next session, the follow-up. Company, it was never heard because the company went out of business. They put it out, but I played piano on both the A side and the B side, two sides of a single. And in the studio at that session, I met a guy named Shelley Coburn. He was the writer of one of the songs. Shelley wanted to write songs with me. He actually could bang out stuff on the piano, but he was not a trained musician. He wanted to write with a real musician. That's me. So he was a great lyricist. He's not around anymore, but that's why I talk about him in the past. But Shelley Coburn was one of the best lyricists around, and I wish he had stayed around longer. But we started writing songs together, and he knew everybody because he was a few years older than myself. And I'd go to his apartment in Brooklyn, and we'd write stuff. And sometimes we'd go. He knew everybody. He knew all the publishers, and they would allow him to use their music room. He said, "Oh, today we're going up here." And we opened the door, and it was actually the first time. Could I say this thing? He was smoking. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, come on.
You know what I'm saying? It was my first time.
It's legal.
It was my first time at Pink. It was at Pinker's Music. They never knew, of course. He would close the door, and he said, "Here, you want to try it?" And on the wall, they had Beatles songs. They had sheet music with songs by the Beatles. And again,
that's cool.
Yeah. So one memory.
Wait, what year was that about?
That was by now. Well, I know what year. 63 and 64. So 1964. We're writing in Pinker's Music.
And smoking pot.
Yes.
And I was 3. I always say I was born too late.
Yeah.
I always say that, okay? And these are some of the reasons why. Continue.
Yeah. So Shelley and I, we'd get assignments from publishers because he had an in every place. We can go wherever we want, but they had to like the song. And they liked a lot of songs we were writing. So one of the companies was United Artists Music.
Okay.
We were BMI writers, so it was UNART BMI. So we'll do this one first. So we wrote a song for them for no particular artist. I'm going to let you hear it. I'm going to tell you this about it. It's a little teaser.
Okay.
So there's a female vocalist who did the demo. We weren't on the demo. I wasn't even there when they did it. There's a female vocalist who, the year before this, had written 3 #1 songs.
Okay.
I could even tell you the titles, or should I wait till after? And I don't know if anybody will know the name anyway.
Tell them. Come on.
Okay. She had already, the year before she had written Be My Baby.
Oh, come on, baby.
You know Lala,
Yep.
the Do Run Run,
Yeah,
Lala Brooks, right?
My girl.
She sang lead on that. The same year as this woman sang my demo, she wrote Chapel of Love and Leader of the Pack.
Okay, baby.
And I was thrilled when they told me who it was. I said, "Oh my God!" Of course, I knew her name, but I'm not going to say her name now. I want you to hear the song. So the next one, the second one, please.
Okay. So now.
Thinking
This is so cool. Come on, baby.
So that's one of the first songs that Shelley Coburn and I wrote. It's called Thinking Back to Yesterday. United Artists Music gave us an advance. They almost every time they liked a song, they would give us an advance, and it was usually $50 total, so we each get 25.
Wait, I have a question about that real
Yes.
quick. So, Al Contrara, okay, from the Mystics, he was the first one that brought all this stuff to my attention years ago. How little you guys all got paid back then.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, when I was on a tour with a whole bunch of groups at one time, and Mitch Margot from the Tokens, we were there together. Mitch used to ask every time we went out on a tour, he'd go to each act and say, "Did you get paid for your first hit?" And the answer was always no. Like, it wasn't even like how much. Did you get paid? So no. Anyway,
Crazy. Go ahead.
so the name of that songwriter who came in and sang my song in the midst of, she probably was like had just written Leader of the Pack. That's Ellie Greenwich. Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich wrote all of those songs together. And when I heard about it later, I couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking now, years later, that she probably came in to make, because again, royalties. She wasn't going to collect royalties right away. She needed money, so she probably got paid $50 to go in for an hour, sing my song, and leave. So now, Shelley and I continued writing, and this next song, we wrote another song. This time it was an assignment from United Artists Music for Chad and Jeremy from England, who were very big at the time. They had a couple of 2 or 3 hits.
Wait, can you tell one of their hits?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
well, yeah. Yesterday's Gone.
Okay.
Willow Weep for Me. I'm trying to. They
No,
were.
Yesterday's Gone. I know it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Part of the British invasion, really, it was that era.
Okay.
So United Artists had them signed to their company, their record label, so they needed songs for them. So they asked us to write something. So we did. So I came up with, I was home in Brooklyn, and I went over to the piano, and I came up with these chords. And the chords, actually, I said, oh, English, it's like an English artist. So I started thinking about I Want to Hold Your Hand. So I put those 4 chords together, and I wrote a melody, and then I got together with Shelley. He wrote lyrics for it, which I thought, oh, these are good. The next day he called me up with a complete, I actually remember what the original lyric was. It was called Heaven Was Here. But the next day he called me up, and he, I'm not going to say the title yet till you hear it. You can hear it soon. With a title and lyrics. I said, yeah, this is good too. Well, so what's good? We have something going on there. So, for this song, here was the story. Now, they said, sorry guys, we can't give you an advance on this one, but we're at our budget, that's it. There's no more in the budget, only enough to do a demo. We're going to do a 1-hour demo. We're going to hire musicians, and they'll do a nice demo of your song. And so we accept. We signed the agreement, which I still have. So the producer in the session told the singer, Kenny Karen. Now, this is for Kenny and I were in touch just yesterday on Facebook. He's still around. He was the demo singer. Shelley and I were sitting there in awe, especially myself. I'm watching these musicians, the studio guys, and I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what that meant. I'm watching with my mouth open. I couldn't believe it. So he tells them, okay, now you have to sound like the Everly Brothers because it's for a duo. So he sings both parts, and he sounds like the Everly Brothers. Then,
okay, and he really did?
He really did.
Okay.
Then we had that demo. There were 10 minutes left. The producer at the session, this part is totally a miracle. The producer at the session said, we have 10 minutes left. I want to try something. It was his idea. I remember his name. He's not known. I have since contacted him and thanked him. But he doesn't. They did stuff every few minutes. They were doing concert songs. So Kenny doesn't even remember doing the session. So at the end, it's this white guy who sounds like the Everly Brothers, Kenny Karen, right? So the producer says, I want you to sound like Jerry Butler. Jerry Butler.
How could that happen?
Yes, that's what I thought. I said, what? And he said, Frank, on the piano, Frank Owens, I want you to play the way you played on Walk On By. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the piano player who played on Walk On By Dionne Warwick. So Burt Bacharach hires him. So these guys are like the tops. So Kenny Karen suddenly has this big voice, you know, it's unbelievable. And then Frank at the piano plays da 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 the way he played on Walk On By.
Okay.
And one take, that's the version. So we brought that to Arthur Prysock. Arthur Prysock was a very successful jazz singer at the time, and he wanted to do the song. And what was great about this was even better than Neil Sedaka or Paul Anka or any of the young, any of the teen idol people. Arthur got played alongside of Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. He was on WNEW.
That's pretty cool.
Make Believe Ballroom. It was like the real deal. So the parents liked him. So he was a jazz singer. He performed at Birdland. He had sung with Count Basie. So he records the song. And he's about to record it, and then the owner of the record label, High Weiss, calls us into Old Town Records. Old Town was one of those oldies labels. All the other records on that label were some of these things. I think the Earls, Remember Then, by the Earls, I think was on that label. But anyway, he had a ton of hits. There's no exaggeration. So the owner of the label calls us up. He says, "Now, boys, I'm going to explain something to you." And first of all, I'm expecting like a beautiful office because Arthur Prysock, he's dignified. He wears a tie, wears a suit.
Okay.
He goes, performs at Birdland. And then we go up to the office. It's like a warehouse. There's no beautiful desk. And this guy is nothing like Arthur.
For real?
For real, yeah. So he sits us down. He said, "I'm going to explain something to you." He said, "Arthur's going to record your song." And we go, "Oh, wow, great." Then he says, "I'm not going to pay you." And we go look at each other like, now at this point, we're just going to be happy to get out of there with all our limbs in place, if you know what I mean. And then he said, "But it's going to help your career in a very big way." And he told us the truth, because today, this song that you're about to hear, that he recorded, Arthur Prysock was the first to record it. There are now more than 100 versions, millions of views on YouTube. It's been a hit all over the world, except in this country. Do you have any Americans watching this today? Yeah, they won't know it. But and this is saying a lot. Out of all of the, it's been translated into 5 languages. It's everybody in Finland knows it. Everybody of all ages. Benelux countries, it was huge.
Australia? I have tons of mates.
Maybe not as, yeah, but in order: Finland, Benelux,
okay.
Caribbean islands.
Okay,
Every
Caribbean,
steel band played it. They all know it. So,
But hold that thought. I have
Yeah.
a question for you. So he says, "But we're not going to pay you." But, like, I have a question about that. Was that the norm? Did you expect that to almost be said?
so here's the thing, really. From all my memories from those years, that was one of the most honest statements I ever heard
Okay.
from a record company executive. Because other people were going to screw you, and they won't tell you that. So,
I got it.
and there were 2 kinds of record labels at the time. The major labels, if you got signed, everybody wanted to be on RCA or Columbia or something. If you got signed to them, you probably weren't going to have a hit because they're putting out too many records.
Oh my
The small labels,
gosh.
like this guy had, you're going to hear it on the radio, which we did immediately.
All
and
right.
it goes right on the radio.
All right, cool.
And they also have connections, and they do some
All right.
things that
Yeah.
favors.
With the
yeah.
mob, because I heard about that too, man.
Some favors. So, so it goes on the radio right away. So this is saying a lot. Of all of the versions, I'm not supposed to have a favorite. This is my favorite. Now, there were only 2 Americans who have ever recorded it. I'm going to say some of the names of the other people who recorded it, who sang it in English: Sir Tom Jones, Long John Baldry, Nick Lowe, Mighty Sparrow. But this is my favorite. I'm not gonna, he has a distinctive sound.
You're not going to tell us the name yet?
Not going to say his name yet. I'm going
All
to
right.
say the name of the song,
All right.
but I'm not going to tell you the name of the singer. So let's
You
do
will
this.
at the end, though, right?
I will at the
All right,
end.
here we go.
Number 3, please.
Here we go, guys. This is pretty cool.
Why do I go myself when I know you love somebody else. Only a fool breaks his own heart. I pretend that I don't see you walking with him on the street. Only a fool breaks his own heart. I have to admit, even though it hurts me so, I can't forget. If I'm a man, I'll let you go. There's no sense in holding on to an old love that's gone. Only a fool breaks his own heart. Accept, even though it hurts me so. I can't forget. If I'm a man, I'll let you go. Sense in holding on to an old love that's gone. Only a fool breaks his own heart. Only a fool breaks his own heart. Breaks his own heart. Breaks his own heart.
This is beautiful. Wait, I'm giving this song a standing ovation from my seat, baby. Come on.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's one of the first songs also that I wrote with Shelley Coburn, and that's the lyric he read to me on the phone the second day. He said, I came up with this idea, only a fool breaks his own heart. I said, yeah, that's nice. That sounds good. So, again, more than 100 versions these days, translated into 5 languages. Only 2 Americans have ever recorded it. So Arthur Prysock was the first. This guy is the second one.
Come on, baby.
Recorded in 2002. Some people might have guessed he has such a distinctive sound and style, and it's my favorite version. Dion DiBucci.
Here we go, baby. Dion, we love you, baby.
Dion from the Bronx. You know, it's amazing what he brought to it. And I found out about this in a Google search. When I heard the record, I had tears in my eyes. I do now every time I hear it.
I loved it.
It's so. He sings from the heart. He can't help it. So. And it's a really obscure cut, his version of this. It came out in 2002 on a box set, and there was a 5th CD with only 2 songs on it, and it's a bonus CD. So it's the box set is called The Wanderer Then and Now. and then or now and then. And then it's the fifth CD has a song he wrote, only 2 songs. My song is the second one. So my song is this last thing on a on a 5 CD set that came out in 2002. And I was so excited. I called up Dion's manager right away. And I said, I just want to thank Dion. Can you put me in touch? I want to thank him for recording my song on his new album. He said, what album? So that's how much interest, I'm just, hey, I just say what I remember, what I know.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. So, but anyway, Dion has since written back to me. We communicated a little on Facebook, and he said, great song, which is a quote from Dion. That's beautiful. Makes me happy. So during this time, there was something else about only a fool. I don't know. Anyway, I was studying at the Manhattan School of Music, going for my master's degree, studying conducting, and I got my first job as a musical director on Broadway, and that was a show called Oh Calcutta, and it was kind of a scandalous show, but still would be by today's standards even. But one of the guys in my band, we originally had 3 keyboards and a drummer. The guy who sat next to me, his name's John. Jon, and he played electric harpsichord and electric piano. And John was the first one to leave. I was the band leader. He left. He went and auditioned for the group Sha Na Na.
Okay.
Now, Sha Na Na had already appeared in Woodstock without him in it. Then, 6 months later, they get a TV show. And my friend John became Bowser, John Bauman. And we're still in touch to this day.
Wait, you're still in touch and good friends with Bowser?
I am.
Come on, give him, get me an interview, baby.
I'll talk to him. I'll talk to John. I'll talk to him about it.
Come on, Bowser.
So he always says, he tells people, he was in my, he goes, I was in his band. Or he says, he was my band leader. That's one of the things.
That is too cool.
Yeah, it is. 1971, we moved on to Broadway. It opened in 69, 71, went on. And like the contributors of this show, Oh Calcutta, were John Lennon and Jules Pfeiffer, many well-known writers. So they had all these famous people would show up. Jimi Hendrix was in the audience, so we'd spot them. They'd say, "Oh, there's Jimi Hendrix sitting there. He was dating one of the girls in the cast." And then a funny thing happened one day. The actress Gina Lola Brigida. We were in the news every day. The show was a very big deal. So. She was very big in the 50s. I don't know if you remember that.
Do I remember her? Please
yeah.
stop. Yeah. I was born too late, people. These are my people.
So she gets up during the intermission when everybody. So she has managed to sit through the entire first half of the show. Got up in intermission and walked out so everybody would notice. And that became a fashionable.
Did she come back?
No.
So wait, they all did that though, I heard, right?
Exactly.
A lot of them did that.
You got it.
Yes.
So it became, of course then made Earl Wilson's column in the Daily News or the New York Post, whichever one he's writing for at the time. So that became the new fashionable thing to do. Sophia Loren was there. I spoke to Dick Clark during the intermission one day. He was just standing outside alone. I go, oh my God, there's Dick Clark. I told him about a new record that's coming out that we're going to, I'll mention in a little while.
He's getting ahead of himself, I can tell.
Yeah. And who else was there? We had lunch with Jane Fonda and her husband between shows one day there in the theater.
About what year was that? I'm just curious.
That was 1971 because we were, between 70 and 71.
I was 10.
Yeah.
I'm so aggravated.
Yeah. So, anyway, so now I'm on Broadway doing the show. And obviously, of course, I hadn't lost my love of recording, so I'm going to go record. But now the songwriting, especially in those years, if we even have a foreign hit, it's going to take 2 years to get paid. But I can't exactly make a living doing that. So I found out that I could earn money every time I went in the studio by writing arrangements, because I was a trained musician, so I knew how to do that. Now, for people don't know what that means, and I used to get the label credit all the time, arranged by, but it doesn't mean put the music in order. So a musical arranger, if you've ever sung with a choir, you know that not everyone is singing the same part. This is the best way to explain it. People are singing different notes. Somebody made those decisions. So we call it SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, 4 parts, 4-part vocals. Then you have different sections of the orchestra, of the band. So the arranger is the person who's making all those decisions. When you hear a song, the song consists of a melody and lyrics. That's it. But then there are other people involved in creating these works that you hear. There's an arranger and producer. There's so much going on, engineer, people making decisions. So
I have a question real quick. The guy that does this, go ahead. What is he called?
Conductor.
Okay. And you've been a conductor, correct?
I have, yes.
Okay. I used to laugh every time I watch the guy do this. I'm like, because I know nothing about music, and I'm like, all he's doing is this. It means nothing. They're not looking at him, and they're not listening, but they are.
Musicians make jokes about that all the time.
Oh, they do?
Yes, and even the fact that maybe some conductors, you might not want to watch them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I was the only one making fun.
No, musicians still do this all the time.
right.
Say, well, sometimes it's even been said, "Oh, don't watch him. He has no idea." Yeah, there's no idea. It's all for show. So you're not really far off. So now, one of the first arrangements I wrote, I now had an office. The Tokens, you know the
my
Tokens.
boys, come on.
Jay, Hank, Phil, and Mitch, the original group. They had a suite of offices in 1697 Broadway. It's where the CBS building on Broadway. They still, the late night shows.
Okay.
Late night is still there. So now it was Letterman. Now it's Stephen.
When I interviewed Jay Siegel, I have to just tell you, because I've met him, I got to hug him 1,000 times. But
okay.
listen, when I interviewed him the first time, I'm giggling the whole time, going, "Come on, lion, baby, come on, lion."
Jay's great. We're in touch. He's
Yeah,
a close
he's
friend.
great.
He's a close friend. So we call each other about things that have nothing to do with music, health. Yeah, I have to go to the doctor. We do. We call.
So
each
you're
other-
real
yeah,
people, huh?
Yeah, the real life stuff. So let me think. So now. The Tokens were kind enough to give me an office in their suite of offices. I had an office there. I was actually writing songs for them first, and then they started hiring me as an arranger to write arrangements for them and for some of the other groups. Now, the Tokens were probably more successful, as big as they were as a recording artist, more successful as producers. Now, that's another funny word in the music industry. Producer doesn't mean what it means in movies. A producer is the same as a movie director. The record producer does everything. Comes up with the idea, putting the right song with the right artist in the studio, directing everything that happens. So they hired me. So the Tokens as producers were called Bright Tunes Productions. They had a bunch of #1 records as producers. Denise by Randy and the Rainbows.
Oh, yes.
They had 4 hits with the Happenings. 4.
Oh, come on. I love the Happenings.
yeah.
Come on, they're my boys.
They discovered the Chiffons. He's So Fine, One Fine Day, Sweet Talking Guy. They produced every one of these records. It's all produced by the Tokens. And people don't realize that.
So, all right. So did you just hear what I heard? Because I didn't know that, and a lot of you don't know that. So they're not just incredible. I mean, this is amazing information.
I know
All right, thank you
people
for
don't.
this.
There's a lot of stuff that people don't know out there, and people don't get the credit.
Jay Siegel, baby, come on, man.
Jay, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. All right.
I'm going to talk about him a little more soon. But one of the first recordings I did with them as an arranger. It's by the Chiffons, I'll tell you that, and I'm going to tell you a little secret about it after we listen to it. But to me, it's an out-and-out hit, and I know the reason it was not a hit.
Okay.
There is a reason. Nobody will recognize it.
Okay.
But it's one of my favorite records by anybody. Forget the fact that I did it, but I wrote the arrangement for this.
This
I
is
wrote
so cool.
the band parts and everything. So then next one, number 4, please, sir.
This information is amazing. You're making my day. I love this stuff.
You were my shoulder to lean on. you're gone. You who had all of the answers, teach me how, teach me now. Teach me not to cry when you say goodbye. Show me how I can be strong and get along without your loving. Teach me how to hide the way that I feel inside. Show me how to let you go, although I know that I still love you. You are my shoulder to lean on. What will I do when you're gone? You who had all of the answers, teach me how, teach me now. Teach me how to face the world like tomorrow, girl. Show me how to make believe that I don't need your loving, baby.
This is so cool, baby. Come on.
Thank you. That was Teach Me How by the Chiffons.
Yeah.
The reason it was not a hit still bugs me because it's so obvious. That's an out-and-out hit to me. That's like, how could that miss? If
So-
it got played once on the radio any place, it's a hit.
So why?
Okay. Because Laurie Records, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put it on the B-side. There were A-sides and B-sides. The one they picked for the A-side, I know what it was, and I'm not to badmouth anybody, but it ain't no Teach Me How. This song was written, it's maybe the only song written by these two people together, Neil Sedaka and Carol Bayer, before the Sager was on the end of her name. It's written by, it's like, how could you miss? The Chiffons, Neil and Carol, and I don't know if that they ever wrote another song together. And I think it's a smash. It's just, I love this record. Now, the secret about this song, that I didn't say before, that the guys in the group, I never told them.
Wait, what do you mean?
They hired me to write the arrangement, but they want to use strings. I had never written for strings before. I don't think Jay knows that till right now. I never told him. I wasn't going to say that. I never.
So you heard it here, guys, on the Geri Petito show.
Yeah.
Wait, repeat, talk my language, because I don't know music.
I don't know how to write for a string section, so I had written bands like horns. So, trumpets, trombones, saxes,
Gotcha.
rhythm section. And this particular thing, I was inspired by a great arranger who's still a friend of mine, Artie Schreck. Artie did the arrangements on, well, one is Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, but the one that inspired me was his arrangement for the Four Seasons of Got You Under My Skin. It starts with strings, starts with that beautiful strings. So I thought of that. That was my inspiration for this. But I had never written for a string orchestra before. So I called one of my college friends. And actually, it's Bob O'Brien, and his father was Joe O'Brien.
Oh.
Joe O'Brien on WMCA. He's one of the MCA good guys. I called his son Bob, who was a friend of mine. We knew each other in the cafeteria from Manhattan School of Music, and he helped me over the phone. He said, "Oh, well, you tell me what to do as a pianist."
So
He
all
said,
right, wait. So this is what I heard you say. They asked you to do this.
They hired me.
Yes, and you just said yes.
Yes,
They didn't know you didn't know, and you got it done.
correct.
That's amazing.
So that record right there, it's the first.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That's the first time I ever wrote for strings, for a string section. Of course, I've done it many times since then. And speaking of a first.
Jay's going to call you now.
Speaking of a first. Yeah, sorry, Jay. I'm sorry to break it to you so many years later. They would say, what? And then they might have gone somebody else. They might have said, oh, well, get somebody who knows how to write for strings. He doesn't know how to. He's never done it before. So I'm sure they didn't know that. And cool. Another first on the Geri Petito show today. Thinking back to yesterday with Ellie Greenwich singing that was a demo. It's never been heard on the air any place ever. That was the demo that United Artists paid for. So that's never been heard. And yeah, it's a demo. It's a song
that's
demo
so
of my
beautiful.
song.
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think you.
That's pretty cool.
You have some stuff.
That's pretty cool. Oh, so I'm going to read a poem out of my book now. Okay, I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to breathe. All right? Have a drink. Yep, there you go. All right, guys. The reason why I like reading this poem I wrote when I do entertainers and I can't, his accolades, forget it. Everything this guy is, right? It's called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. And the reason I like to read this is because I'm going to get a lot of messages saying, I wish I could do that like him. I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he did that. And I want people out there to know you all have something to offer. Every single person has a gift. So this poem, I want you to really listen to it if you're struggling with your self-worth, okay? We are born with talents, we are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. I knew early on I was born to draw and paint, to also write poetry, and to talk without restraint. Our gifts and talents should all be used, God's gift to us not be abused. We can go far in life for sure, using our gifts to go on tour, like this guy has. All our talents should be used to create ourselves and more, but then our job's to share them, to even up the score, like this guy has. You see, in life, what's needed is not just for ourselves. Once our gifts are mastered, take them off the shelves, like this guy has. A living we can make by spreading them around, not just for the money, to spread a peaceful sound, like this guy has, okay? They never paid him, though. Don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy. Put your efforts forth. Do not hesitate. All your talents, my friend, are never second rate. Never hold them back or you will surely die. Maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. Our gifts were made to share. Our talents made to soar. Go through life enlightened, and then you can roar. Be proud of who you are. Be happy you're alive. Once again, my friend, your gifts will help you thrive. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, listen, baby, your name, Norman Bergen, will live forever, baby, forever and a day. So go through life excited for what you sure can give. To yourself and others is our reason to live. Our grave will be quite lonely, but our legacy lives on. So make sure people smile with the breaking dawn. And that's what you're doing. And that's what you're doing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
So,
I don't think I can talk now.
So I just had to read that, especially for you. You have honored me here today, and Hamilton Radio. Listen, and Gino, our producer. This is unbelievable information that he has shared so far, and we've got more, guys. I am so truly honored. So now take the mic, sweetie.
Thank you, Geri. Oh, that's beautiful. Very moving. So I'm in the office with the tokens, and they now brought in another man named Dave Apple. He was spelled Appel, but it's pronounced Apple. Dave had a career in every decade. The 50s, he was a band leader on Eddie Fisher's TV show. And he had a hit record in the 50s. It was Dave Apple and the Applejacks. I knew that name from the Alan Freed shows.
What was the song?
Mexican Hat Rock is the one I remember. He took Mexican Hat Dance.
Oh, my gosh,
He made a rock and roll record out of it. He had a couple of hits like that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
All right,
So
continue.
Then in the 60s, he was the king of Philadelphia. He produced every hit on Cameo Parkway Records. Chubby Checker, Dee Dee Sharp, the Dovells, the Orlons. There's 5. There's Bobby Rydell. He wrote some of the songs.
I interviewed Bobby Rydell.
Oh, I did. Yeah, got to speak with him. And Dave also wrote "Let's Twist Again."
Oh, come on.
That's not bad.
Come on.
He wrote "Wild One," I think, for Bobby Rydell. But he did a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
So Dave is now in the office with me with the Tokens.
This is
And
crazy.
Dave became a close friend. And he actually told me something that I can never repeat. I can't even say. I'm not going to say it
All
on
right,
here.
you'll tell me later, right?
I might, because he asked me not to.
You
say
want
it on here.
pizza, right?
You want-
We'll do a
I
swap.
might tell you off the air, but I remember things like that. He trusted me, so we were friends.
Absolutely.
But Dave was a fantastic everything musician, amazing. He played trombone, he played guitar, nicest guy in the world. And again, he had all this success in the '60s. That's a lot. Everything I just said. Then he joins us in 1970, and we're making records together. So one day he played for me, called me in the office. He said, "I want you to hear this demo that Toni Wine gave me." Now, I knew her name. I knew who she was. Toni, Toni. Toni Wine had written with Carol Bayer, "Groovy Kind of Love."
Okay.
That had a big hit of that.
Yep.
Toni Wine had sung with Ron Dante, who I just saw 2 nights ago.
I interviewed him too, honey.
Good,
Forget
good.
it. That was the funniest interview. Okay. Go
He's
ahead.
great guy, and he's amazing on stage.
Oh my God! I
I
was calling him my sugar the whole time.
I want to throw in. I just saw the Happy Together tour the other night. Oh my God!
Incredible! I love you, Ron.
Ron was amazing. He took over the stage big
He's
time.
my sugar.
And
He's my honey, baby.
He's still. I mean, I can't believe he looks like a
Okay.
teenager. Yeah.
Okay.
And sounds like it. But so, the Archies were Ron Dante and Toni Wine. So she sings the high part. "I'm gonna make your life so sweet." So I knew her, and I knew who she was around the industry. So now, because I'm doing stuff with the Tokens, so I get to meet people. Sadaka would come up to the office, So people, it was kind of a very happening place. In fact, Neil wanted us to record the slow version of "Breaking Up Is Hard to Do," and nobody ever did it. So years later, he had the slow version. He just put it out himself. We had the demo in the office.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, where was I?
So you were talking about now Ron Dante.
Yes. So, but I better look at my stuff. Oh yeah.
That's okay.
So Dave played for me this demo of Toni Wine singing and playing the piano, and it's a new song. I'll tell you the title. It's called "Candida."
Oh my gosh! Please stop.
And she had a certain feel she put to it. It's her singing and playing it. And Dave said, "I have an idea." Now Dave had great ideas, always great musical. If Dave has an idea, it's probably a good one. He said, "I want to change the feel. I want to do it like this." And Tony's original feel was like what we would call halftime. "Candida, we could make it together." So we recorded the song with a guy who the guys had signed. I was, again, their arranger on so many records now at this point. I was doing records. I was arranging for the Tokens on Warner's. We had a bunch of singles out. I was the arranger. And now at this point, we had a new album out on Buddha Records. "She Lets Her Hair Down" and "Don't Worry Baby" are two of my
Oh, come on!
two of my favorites. Two of my favorites that I got to do with them. So Dave was playing me this thing, and he said, "I want to do it with this guy, Frankie Paris." So Frankie Paris sang. He sounded a little like he had that edge on, like a rock edge on his voice, like David Clayton Thomas.
Okay.
That's that sound. More like hard edge, kind of more for FM at the time, FM rock radio, like a rock band, big band, horn band, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, that sort of thing. So we recorded the song the way Dave said. The guys gave me an assignment. They said, "Go listen to every Drifters record."
Oh, come on!
I want we want it to sound like, bring back the sound of the Drifters.
I've interviewed a lot of them, and
And now I'm writing for strings again. Now I know how to write for strings, and so we recorded 2 songs with Frankie Paris, and one was "Candida," and the other one was just a different, more like a Blood, Sweat, and Tears or something. Finished record. On the record, So the Tokens, the backup singers were, now again, people might tell different stories. Okay, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I know what
People do tell different
Yeah.
stories. I've learned that the hard way. Go ahead.
But I know what I remember.
My producer's
Yeah,
laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I'm gonna. This is what I remember.
Yep.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This is what I remember. We go in the studio, we record with 3 backup singers. Tony Wine, who contracted. She was the contractor for the vocals. Tony Wine, a girl named Robin Greon. Nobody ever says her name, gives her credit. Grean. Her father had a big hit record, Charles Randolph Greon, as an instrumental, and I don't remember what the song is.
Okay.
And the third girl was Jay Siegel from the Tokens. So it was the 3 boys. So I wrote the parts. I wrote the vocal parts. Candida, what they're going to sing. And then on the session, this is actually the only session, where I didn't, the keyboard part was not important. It was really based around the Latino type guitar.
Okay.
So Al Gorgoni, who's still a friend, who had played on one of the greatest Tokens records that I didn't do, called He's in Town, but he played. They said, "Hey Al, play the acoustic guitar the way you played on that with Latino thing." So we have a finished record called Candida, ready to go. It's great. I'm convinced it's a hit for the summer. We finish it in March.
Wait, March what?
I don't know the date.
Say the 7th. That's
Oh.
my birthday.
Oh, that's it. I remember now.
There it is.
Now I recall it vividly. So we finished the record, and one day I go in the office and Hank says, the record company. They had the record company ready to go. It was to be Bell Records, which later became Arista. So Bell Records now had the Partridge Family and the Fifth Dimension, and we're going to have this record to come out on Bell, but they didn't like Frankie's singing. He doesn't. It's not like it's a secret. He was a great guy. They didn't like it for this song. They had a different idea.
Okay.
Tony Orlando was a friend of the guys. I was thrilled at the mention of his name because I have to tell you, to me, his first 2 hits had nothing to do with them. He was a teenager when I found that out. I'm still blown away about it. Halfway to Paradise and Bless You. These 2 hits, when he was a teenager, very big in New York and on the charts nationally. That second single, "Bless You," it's by Mann and Weil, by Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil. Still a favorite. It's my favorite Tony Orlando recording.
Well, Tony Orlando, if you're going to listen to your buddy here, I'm still waiting for the interview. Your daughter promised. Let's go, baby. Continue.
No, and he knows that. He knows I love Bless You. So now I hear he might sing the vocal, and then his name's mentioned all the time. No, he can't do it. He can do it, but we can't use his name. And the idea was, why? This is going to be a hit. What an opportunity for somebody who needs a comeback or something. So that's why Tony, that was one of the early thoughts. Aside from that, he would, blow it away. He'd be great. So actually, the guys contacted 2 other people, and I don't know. This is never discussed. But I'm just going to tell you.
Tell me, baby. Let's go.
Because this is what I remember. So, and it's not an insult to Tony. Tony, he wasn't available to use his name.
Okay, gotcha.
So they wanted to find somebody. Chubby Checker turned it down.
I twisted with him twice.
Good.
And recently.
Good. And Lenny Welsh turned it down.
Oh,
Turned it down.
okay.
They're both great.
Yes.
And finally, they went with, they see, Tony would come up to our office. What he was doing, I didn't explain it. He was running a publishing company for Clive Davis at this point at Columbia Records, April Blackwood Music. So Tony was no longer singing. Sometimes he would sing behind the scenes. He would do what you'd call a studio record, which
Okay.
I'm about to describe, which was just, you make up a name. It was really him singing on it. And there's a record out called, the artist was called Wind.
Okay.
People in the industry know that was Tony Orlando.
Okay.
So he was still singing, just not publicly.
And we have 3 more songs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me think. So I want to move on after this though. Oh, so the guys. So anyway, Tony goes. So one day Hank plays. Tony's going to do it. Tony's going to do it, but can't use his name. Hank plays me the record, and again, like me, I don't know. I go, yeah, this is nice too. I don't know the difference.
Wait, you just said Tony will do it, but we can't use his name?
Correct.
So they had his voice?
Yeah.
Continue.
So we have a finished record except for the lead vocal. So Tony Orlando went in for 1 hour. He basically learned the song in the studio I was not in the studio that day, I can't. So it's a bit of hearsay on this.
Okay.
But punched line by line. Stars won't come out, punch. They know that you're about Candida. We can
Make it
Yeah.
together.
So yeah, we now have a finished record. Hank plays with me. I go, yeah, this is nice too. I like them both. He goes, he said, Larry Utall at Bell Records loves this version. They're going with it. The promotion guys, Steve Wax, they love it, and they're going all out on this thing, and it worked. It worked.
And you were part of it.
So I was the arranger.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was my track. So Phil Margot from the Tokens played drums. Jay Siegel sang background. Mitch was in the Army.
And this is Candida?
Yes, it is. So the record came out. We could not use Tony's name. So it's Candida by Dawn. One word, D-A-W-N. And when you heard it on the radio, if they weren't from New York, I didn't know what the hell they were saying. So it was like there was one DJ, it sounded like he was saying Don. Who's Don? What's Don? So he was from the Midwest or something.
Yeah.
He wasn't from Brooklyn. It's Dawn.
It's Dawn.
You be clear about it. So bit by bit, get bigger and bigger, bigger. It's moving up the charts, getting big. Now Tony's there's no group. There's still no group. It's just nobody knows who this is. And it's going to be number one. It's obvious, and now we need a follow-up. We go over record songs for follow-ups. So Candida sold 1.5 million just in the States alone, 3 million around the world. Now we have a follow-up coming out. Tony decided to leave his job and at April Blackwood and do this for real. He's going to go on stage and do this. Because now this is going to be a second. It's moving up. You could tell this will be two number one records. So he put a group together. I was in the group. Dawn. It was a group.
Did you have a wig on? I'm just asking.
No, It had nothing to do with what it would become. It was a band, and so we put a show together. We rehearsed for 2 months. We did one show ever. Now 2 dreams of mine came true on this particular day. You want to guess where it was, where we performed, where we did our one show?
Okay. Go ahead. I have an idea.
Carnegie Hall.
That's right, because I read it and I didn't want you to say it.
Yeah, Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
So we headlined at Carnegie Hall, and it was a fundraiser with all these other acts, Mama Cass Elliott and the Five Stair Steps and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. All these groups were in it, and we were the headliners. We're going to headline. We never performed before. We were rehearsing for 2 months in the studio. After the show, now Tony had some industry friends there. So that would be our first time on stage together, also our last. Because after the show, some of Tony's friends said, that doesn't look, the band's great, but it doesn't look at all like what people are hearing on those recordings. So he went ahead and he hired Joyce and Thelma.
As Dawn.
Joyce Vincent Wilson.
As Dawn.
Yes, well put. And Thelma Hopkins. And I'm still in touch with them. I'm in touch with those ladies all the time. They're
what
great.
are
They're
you
wonderful.
doing, Norman Bergen?
Yeah.
Get me them.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's how that came about. I know. 1 year in. You want to skip a song?
You're in charge.
Okay. Is it okay to? Two more songs. Is that okay?
Wait, we have 3 songs, right? Oh, we have 2 more.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we're playing both of those songs.
Okay. All right.
We are not skipping a song. Now I know what you mean.
Yeah, we're concerned about the time. So 1 year when I was in the Catskills in the off season, I'd work there almost every summer. But 1 year I'm there in September, and there's nobody there midweek in this particular hotel. We're just going to play music on the weekend. We could stay and live there during the week, but there's nobody there. It's like no audience.
Okay.
No music. We're not really performing. We just do like maybe 3 nights on the weekend, 2 or 3 nights. So midweek, so I go to. There's a piano in the lounge. It was this particular hotel, beautiful. I go in the lounge, a really nice lounge, in the daytime, and it's dark. I remember like a red light in the distance. And I go to the piano, and I came up with a melody. It's the scene, the feel, the whole. There was a vibe, and I said, this is a French melody. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. It said, sounds like it's French. So I said, well, I'm going to play this. I worked on it every day until I perfected it. Felt very good about it. Got back to the city. So now I'm up in the Catskills. I get back to Brooklyn, and I call Shelley, my lyricist, my co-writer. I said, I have this song. I want you to hear it. Immediately, he goes, sounds French. I said, thank you. He wrote this lyric. It's called Flower Girl, and this is, I will tell you this about it. Oh, I'm going to let you guess the artist, the recording artist. Also, he has a very distinctive sound. He had a bunch of hits. He had many hits. It's a very unusual situation. Again, the song was hardly heard anyplace, except maybe in Europe eventually.
Oh, okay.
But this artist came out with his next single, and in Cashbox magazine, both sides were picks of the week, side A, side B.
Okay.
So, and we expected to be on one of the sides with our new song that he had already recorded. Oh, this song is the reason, this recording session was the reason that I stayed with the music industry rather than teaching. I was studying for my master's degree. When I heard that this famous, amazing recording artist was going to record my song, it was a day I had a final in college. I didn't do the final. I went to the session. I was invited to the session.
Okay. Are you happy about that?
I'm thrilled.
Okay. Okay.
I'm thrilled. I did the right thing.
What were you going to school for?
Oh, so I have a bachelor's degree in music theory, which just means that I know much more about music than anybody needs to.
Gotcha.
And music education, I was now going for my master's in education. The idea is to
be a music teacher.
To be a teacher.
Forget that.
Right,
This
thank
is
you.
so cool.
So I knew I was, and it was like the day of. I was in school earlier that day, and I said, no, I have to go to this session. This great singer is doing my song, and I knew who the arranger was. I'll tell you who that is.
Okay.
His name was Peter Matz, M-A-T-Z. He had arranged the early Streisand records, and friends of mine used to listen to her albums and go, oh my God, this guy is amazing. What a beautiful, also for strings and just the way he would write everything. So I knew he was the arranger on this session.
Okay.
And the producers were Geld and Udell, who were very, very big at the time. They had other hits with this artist.
Okay.
So I went to the session. So let's hear the song,
Okay. Let's hear it.
this French song.
Okay.
Flower girl down la rue, people pass, they won't see you, selling flowers in the square. They don't look, no, they don't care if you sell a sweet bouquet, make a heart beat a little happier today. Flower girl, petals fall, the weather's cold, the season's cruel, autumn's here, winter's near, and soon the flowers will disappear from this busy thoroughfare. All too soon you'll be gone, and no one to care. Flower girl, ma chère. you'll be gone and no one to care. Flower girl, my share.
Amazing, absolutely beautiful. Talk about it.
So that was Gene Pitney, by the way, who had already had a slew of hits. So his new single came out, not with that song. Here's the reason you've never heard that song. The Cashbox magazine had side A, Animal Crackers, and side B, Don't Mean to Be a Preacher. And we were disappointed. We thought we were going to be on the next single. So there's always an A side and a B side. Then the record company, Musicor, decided, well, they don't want the two sides to compete with each other, so they're going to put a different song. So I actually had probably the only C side in history. There were A sides and B sides. I had side C. They kept Animal Crackers by Bonner and Gordon, who wrote Happy Together, and then they put my song on the flip side, but nobody ever heard it here. But in Europe, it started becoming known, and it's actually the flip side of a top 20 record in England, and people got to know that one. So yes, Gene Pitney and Peter Matt's arrangement, just beautiful. So that's the reason I didn't go to my final. I knew
Amazing.
it would be something I'd always remember. So in the 70s, I had a partner by the name of Reed Whitelaw. Reed co-wrote Goody Goody Gumdrops with Billy Carl.
That's so cool.
Carlucci. You know Billy.
Come on, he's my buddy.
I know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love Billy.
I thought so. So Reed and I became partners through a couple of friends, Don Oriolo and Mark Barkin, who's no longer with us. But so Reed and I started making records together. We thought we were making R&B records. Our thing was R&B pop. It's now the early 70s, and we're going to redo the music of Motown. We love the Temptations and the Four Tops, and we're writing new songs in that style. That's what we wanted to do. So one day we're approached by a guy named Tom Moulton, who should be known to the public, and he's not. So I'm actually glad I'm mentioning him. Okay. Within the industry, he's known. He asked if it would be okay if he get some of our tracks and create long versions. So this was the early 70s now, and he's going to play them in discos in these places, and we didn't understand why. And then one day Reed said to me, he said, they like it better without the vocals. They just want our tracks. And that was all. It was so insane to us. Well, Tom Moulton created, first of all, he created the Giant 45. That was an accident that he did that with one of my recordings, and I'm going to play you one of the we'll let you hear. So during the disco era, we went on to record Gloria Gaynor, Vicki Sue Robinson, but many recordings are your disco listeners. They all know Tom's name, and he's the king of that. He created the disco mix. The first time there was a top 20 disco songs in Billboard magazine. He made the list.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he wrote the list, and we always had songs in it in that year. Well, we were too early. Talk about the wrong years. We were actually early for the disco, before disco took off. So our stuff, when you hear this one, you'll see what I mean. It's still sampled to this day. I'll say this now and throw it in now. I have 2 platinum albums. Never did I think, when I started writing songs that 30, 40 years later, I would have platinum albums with rap artists for 2 reasons. One, there was no such thing as a rap artist when I wrote those songs.
Right.
And the second reason, why would I think that? So they now they take tracks from things that I've done. But I'm going to play you one of those. This has been used over and over and over again. It's the number 6 song, Gino. And then I'll tell you about it after.
Okay, cool. on, baby. This is so ridiculously cool. Come on, tell us about it.
Thank you. So that was the group Moment of Truth, who Reed Whitelaw and I basically created them, put them together. We even managed them, had them doing gigs, doing shows in discos, all that stuff. And it's called Helplessly, one of the first things we ever wrote. And it's considered a disco classic. The people who were really into the disco music, and again, early on, we were never there once it surfaced a few years later with Saturday Night Fever. But anyway, that's Helplessly by Moment of Truth. And it's sampled all over the place.
And Saturday Night Fever, we're not getting into it, but do you know, like, behind the scenes
No.
that it wasn't really who it was? We'll talk off
Oh,
air.
maybe.
Okay,
There's
because I
one,
yeah.
there's one I know. One thing I know. I do know. So off air. So I was very lucky. Now that was all 70s. In the 80s, I got to conduct for some great people. Robert Guillaume, who was the star of Benson. I had never watched his show until we were in rehearsal for a few weeks. Choreographed the whole thing, and the night before, I was thinking I should watch this show. It's a top 5 show. It was huge, and so I watched it the night before our first gig on the airport. I went over and I said, Robert, I watched your show last night. You're funny. And I still remember saying, he said, yeah. He was very, he was really humble. And Robert and I went to England together. He only brought me to do a TV show with him, and we sit down in the taxi at Heathrow Airport, and the cabbie looks in the rear view mirror. We're sitting together in the back of the cab. The driver looks in the rear view mirror and he goes, "Oh my God, it's Benson." And I looked at him. I said, "Oh my God, he's known all over the world." And that's when it really hit me. It was to me it was fun with playing music and all this stuff. Debbie Reynolds, I got to conduct for her a few times, and the highlight of my life was in the show. No matter how large an orchestra we had, when she did the song "Tammy," just voice and piano. It was just Debbie and me. And
that was it, just voice and piano.
And when I think of it now, I get chills. I got chills every time I
just
did
got
it.
chills.
Yeah.
So you're playing the piano with her singing, and that was it.
Tammy, and doing the song Tammy.
Okay.
She's known for that. And then I came back to Brooklyn in style. We did an outdoor concert in Brooklyn featuring Debbie Reynolds.
Did you hear what
That
he
was
just
fun.
said, honey? Back to Brooklyn in style. I love it.
That's it, yeah. And then in the 90s, a couple of people. I coached Sybil Shepherd. She was great. She loves music. She's from Memphis. She's all about the music. And she was so cool, also so down to earth. But Sybil, she paid me, but I learned something from her that I still apply. It was just one day she said, because she's singing, I'm playing piano, and she in her house. She goes, they say if you make a mistake, do it again, then the audience will think you did it on purpose.
I love that.
So I started doing it. Started going, it's like, oh, okay, he did that on purpose. If you
Yeah.
you screw up on it,
That's pretty cool.
like me. And then also in the 90s, I got to tour as a member of, now they called it the Tokens. I always called us the West Coast Tokens. Phil Margo and Mitch Margo were in L.A. I had now moved to L.A. Mitch and I got together. Phil became part of it. And we had 2 albums out under the name, and the name of the artist was The Tokens featuring Mitch Margo. So it was Phil and Mitch.
Okay.
And myself. And now, I mentioned something about a jacket I had bought when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
So now, 30 years later, I'm on stage with Phil, whose jacket hadn't fit me. That was Phil Margo. I replaced him in the Catskills when I was 15 years old, before there was a Tokens, before that group existed. And he was the piano player the year before. So that was...
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
That's a crazy story. So I sold him the jacket back. No, I didn't have it anymore. So that was the same Phil person. So stuff, I always want to mention a couple of things I'm working on now. I'm writing a book, and it's going to be called, if I can say it right, Brooklyn, Broadway, Brill Building, Behind the Music of Norman Bergen. Is that enough B's? If it's not enough B's, I can throw in Branson if we need it. And that's one book. There's another book. I'm not going to go into much about it because all my friends and family. I'll tell you later at dinner. All my friends and family know about this. It was. I met somebody. It's a true life romance. It's a beautiful story. A lot of joy, a lot of sadness.
Okay.
And it's real. And I'm writing a book about that. And when we first met, when I met my soulmate, we met at a grand piano on a riverboat, which was the perfect setting. And that's how the book's going to start. And people then said you should write about a book about this. Well, there's a lot more to the story now. And again, that's the sad part. I don't want to. This is all about music, so we talk about music. So speaking of music and rivers. I'm going to be performing. I was on riverboats for more than 20 years. The Delta Queen Company. Well, I have to throw this in. So there's a calliope on real steamboats. A calliope is a keyboard instrument whose sound is created by the pipes, the steam from the steam engine go up, and you've all heard it. Boop, 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 boop,
Yeah,
that
sure.
funny sound. But I loved playing it. Not all the piano players liked playing it, but I loved it. Every chance I could get, I was going to play the calliope. It's heard for 5 miles, and you could do whatever you want. So you were supposed to stay with a certain type of music. I didn't do it. So on the Mississippi Queen years ago, I was playing Inagata Davida on the calliope, which wasn't done. I eventually became known for it. The whole crew, the captains, the pilots, they liked the idea. So I played it one day, and then the next day, a younger man, not a typical elderly client, passenger, he's very nicely dressed, wearing a tie and a jacket. And he stopped me, came over me, he said, "Oh, are you the one? Did you play Inagata Davida yesterday?" I said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "Well, I'm Ron Bushy." Ron Bushy is the original drummer on Inagata Davida in
Is
Iron
that
Butterfly.
crazy?
And but by the end of the week, so he came to watch us every day. I was doing a gig in the lounge in the afternoon. By the end of the week, the last night, we got him to do it.
It's amazing.
He moved the drums around. He tuned each drum, took his time. He did the whole long solo. The place was packed. Half of the people in the lounge were the crew members when they heard the Iron Butterfly drummers in there doing that. So that's one of my memories. I meant to say what I mentioned earlier, the grand piano on the largest steamboat ever built, which was the American Queen. That's also a sad part of the story now. There's something going on with that boat. But I worked on those boats for years. Now, the nice thing is that I'm going to be back on river boats again soon. I'm going to be performing with a woman who's an amazing talent, great vocalist, great performer, and the riverboat passengers actually all know her by name. They'll recognize her in 2 seconds, Michaelin Obi. So I just want to give her that mention. And our first time out this year will be June 26th in Memphis. We're going to be doing 2 cruises, Memphis to New Orleans, then New Orleans to St. Louis. So it's like for about 2.5 weeks.
That's
so
pretty cool.
We're going to be on every day. And something else, that's going to be on the American Heritage is the name of the boat. You could look it up, American Heritage. And so some stuff I'm working on now. You mentioned the young man's name earlier. Now, Joe Marioni has become a good friend of mine. Joe discovered this young man who's an amazing talent. You mentioned him earlier, Chris Ruggiero.
That's right.
Chris, and we've become friends as well. I've watched his shows, and I cannot believe it, and how great he is. And it is something, he is so real, so natural, that he connects with the people get it. They know the difference. It's not just the talent. He is an amazing talent, but there's something about how real he is and how he connects with people. He'll have a packed house, and he is doing that now, packing the houses, and they want to come back and see him again and again and again.
I interviewed the both of them. I mean, they're amazing.
Good.
He's amazing.
Yeah, so the shows you mentioned earlier, I want to mention. So here's something you don't know about it. Tomorrow's June 8th. June 8th, I'll just throw it. It was my son John's birthday. He's gone now.
Sorry to hear that.
June 8th, Chris will be debuting an arrangement that I wrote for him.
On the show.
Tomorrow.
That's amazing. Chris,
tomorrow.
love you, baby.
Tomorrow in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. He'll
that
be
I mentioned.
doing it for the first
Yes.
time. And I'm not going to say what it is because
Okay.
it's a surprise. It's actually an idea I brought to Joe for Chris. I said, what do you think about this for recording? I hope to record it at some point.
This is
and
so cool.
I think it's a hit. And he's going to debut it. So tomorrow in Sellersville, then Sunday on the 9th is my son Michael's birthday. And that's actually one of the main reason I
Yeah.
came to the area
So cool.
to celebrate with my son Michael. And on that day, Chris will be in Toms River, New Jersey, and he also has a date coming up in New Brunswick. And I just went through there today to get here. So New Brunswick.
So is it Gene DiNapoli show in New Brunswick? Because if it is, it's on this sheet.
I don't know.
All right, I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
In New Brunswick? Yeah, June 21st.
Oh, good. Yes.
Okay, so it's also Gene DiNapoli's putting it on.
Good.
Okay.
Because Joe actually preferred that I mentioned that. He thought this is
Okay.
more in your area for
Okay.
for this show.
And I just mentioned, and you didn't know that I was even going to mention them. How about that? Isn't
No,
that
I
crazy?
didn't. I
So
loved it.
another show, June 21st at 7:30 p.m., New Brunswick Performing Arts Center, Summer Serenade, Chris Ruggiero,
And
732-745-8000, and also June 23rd, 3 p.m., the Egg Theater, Albany, New York, Chris Ruggiero, Summer Serenade, 518-475-1845. And that's what I have.
yeah, so unless the whole audience leaves tomorrow during the one I wrote for him, he will be doing it at all of those shows.
Nobody's going to listen to me carefully.
Oh, and I have to tell you something else I did for Chris this week. It wasn't even-
Nobody's
I was
gonna
gonna
be
mention
leaving early.
But something you said, something made me think of this. Joe asked me the other day if I could come up with just a quick, very easy. I didn't even take credit for it. I didn't even put my name on it. But just a very simple voice and piano of oldies ballads, and one of the songs in it. Well, I don't want to give it away,
Okay?
but one of the songs has to do with the casinos.
Oh, talk, and then I got to
You know-
tell you something.
You know them. Well,
Okay.
that's it. But I don't want to give it
Alright.
away because he's going to do it in the show.
So the casinos, okay, then you can tell me goodbye.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, listen. So, Ken Brady, he's now family to me. He's come up here to see me so many times, him and his incredible wife, Cindy. I'll tell you a quick story about that, and then we'll let you close. So, it was years ago, and I get a call, and I owned Ms. Night Owl Poker in Mercer County, New Jersey, for about 10 years. All right, a poker league, and I'm also a dealer. So I'm going through some stuff back then in my office for my poker league, and I get a call, and it's this man who says to me, "Hello, is this Geri Petito? So-and-so gave me your number. It's Ken Brady from the casinos." So now here I am doing poker stuff. So I say, "What casinos?" And he says, "Oh, I hear that a
The
lot."
casinos, yeah.
He starts singing, "Then you can tell me goodbye."
Oh, the
I go,
casinos.
"You're messing with me." And his wife's yelling in the background, "It's him, it's him."
Those casinos.
That started my incredible friendship with this man, Ken Brady from the casinos.
Hey, I'm
Oh, you're done?
I'm good. Yes.
All right, so now how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so my website is a work in progress. I'm glad you asked that, though. I'm going to go in and start editing and updating, but a surefire way of seeing what dates I'm going to be on the riverboat and what things I have coming up. If you're on Facebook, most people are, not everybody, but if you're on Facebook, Norman Bergen Music, my music page. I reserve the personal page more for, people ask friend requests, but that's more to complain about fake friend requesters and write idiotic things on that don't, from people. They make up names that don't even make sense. But that's my personal page. But on my music page, you'll get the real stuff. You want what dates I'll be where. So Norman Bergen Music on Facebook.
Perfect. So, okay. Wow. That's all I'm going to say. Amazing, incredible interview. Everybody, please share this. Okay, this will also be on iHeartRadio next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever works best for this guy. We're going to do it, and I'll put the ad out and all that. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank my incredible producer today, Doc G, the original owner of Hamilton Radio, for doing this special show. I never do shows on Fridays, okay? My weekends are free, all right? And he did this for me, really, to honor me, but we did this for Norman Bergen, but he arranged his flights so that he could be here today, and I am more than honored.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to thank you, Geri Petito, everybody, fantastic, and you make me feel so at home, and Gino as well. These are great people. This is the real deal. This is the place. This is the place to be.
Oh my gosh, so
Real people.
I am so honored, and I just want to give a shout out to Papa's Tomato Pies because that's where we're bringing this guy, the oldest tomato pie place in the nation.
Ooh.
And it used to be in Trenton, but Trenton's not great anymore. Same family. It's owned by the same family. And it's now in Robbinsville, and now they have a sign that says Robbinsburg, okay? Instead of Chambersburg, Robbinsburg, baby. And that's where we're going, okay? The oldest tomato pie place in the nation is right here in my town. Again, Norman Bergen, thank you so much for this incredible show. This wasn't even an interview. This was a show.
Thank you, Geri. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody out there who's watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was amazing. And thank you for my gift. And producer, take us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is it really true? Is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.